Francis Ngannou embarrassed Tyson Fury, beating him at his own sport. A guy making his boxing debut beat the heavyweight champion of the world, and he did it in a way I did not think he ever could. He beat Francis by a decision. He didn't knock him out. I thought he had to go in there and knock him out if he wanted any chance of beating Tyson, but no, he went in there and should have won a decision. The judges gave it to him. I personally scored the fight for Francis. It was a very close fight. I'm gonna go through and analyze each round individually and determine who won. I'm gonna make a video on that next. It'll be coming out either later tonight or tomorrow. But whether you scored the fight for Francis or Tyson, there's no doubt that Francis won in the end. He got paid a shitload of money and he made it competitive with one of the best heavyweight boxers on the planet. A guy who has never lost a fight and who has trained his entire life. His dad is a boxer. His uncle was a boxer. His brothers are boxers. Boxing is in the family. He's been doing it since he was a little kid, and he loses to a guy, or at the very least almost lost to a guy who had never even had a professional boxing fight before. Francis even dropped Tyson with a lead left hook, one of his best punches. I said that in my prediction video, that one of Francis's best punches is his lead left hook, and he dropped Tyson with it, where Tyson steps in with a lead left hook, sort of slaps with it, and then lines up the big right hand. This is the same combination he used in the first round, where he steps in with a left hook and then lands the big right hand. And that punch pretty much single-handedly won him that round, but here in the third round, he misses with the right hand, and Francis could see the opening for the counter left hook over his shoulder because of the way Tyson drops his hand and dips down and leaves his head exposed. So right after, when Tyson goes to do the exact same combination, where he once again steps in with a left hook that lands partially around the glove of Francis and then throws the right hand that just misses. Francis, picking up on the tell, throws the left hook as Tyson throws the right hand because he knew it was coming, because Tyson had been too predictable, and he lands the counter left hook perfectly right on the temple of Tyson. I know Tyson said that it was an illegal shot behind the head. One, it was not, because it didn't land behind the head, and two, even if it did land behind the head, it could still technically be a legal shot because he sort of moved into it. He turned his head away from the punch, which could have caused it to land behind the head, but in the end it didn't, and it dropped Tyson. But Francis didn't get aggressive. Instead of headhunting, he went straight to the body shots. He didn't get overly aggressive going for the knockout because he knew Tyson could catch him like that, which shows a lot higher of a fight IQ or boxing IQ than I thought Francis would have. And something a lot of people didn't pick up on was during the early rounds, Tyson spent a lot of the time in southpaw. It reminded me a lot of the second time he fought Chisora, where he was beating Chisora so easily, so he switched into southpaw just to have some fun, I guess. But then after Francis dropped him and started having some success, Fury did not go into southpaw nearly as much. He was taking it a whole lot more seriously. But then after he got dropped in the third round, Tyson came out, started sticking behind his jab more, not really taking risks, throwing out different combinations. He was jabbing and moving away and then staying off the ropes, which, if you go back to my prediction video, was the game plan I thought Tyson should have. I said something along the lines of he should stick behind his jab, constantly move away, use his footwork, keep away from the ropes, and keep Francis out of range. And he pretty much won the 5th and 6th rounds by doing that, circling away, staying behind his jab, keeping Francis at range. Francis wasn't able to land too many significant punches during those few rounds because he just couldn't work around Tyson's jab. But in between the 6th and 7th round, the announcer said, I didn't hear it for myself, but the announcer said that Francis's corner told him that he couldn't just let Tyson jab away to a win. So they made the adjustment, and in the 7th round, Francis came out in the southpaw stance, which made Tyson's jab less successful and effective because both of their lead hands are right there constantly clashing with each other. When Tyson would throw his jab, Francis would be able to catch it with his right hand because his right hand's already there. He doesn't have to bring it across his body. As well, Tyson has to set up the jab more. When you're in the same stance, you can throw your jab out. You don't really have to set it up with footwork. You can just step in with it. But when you are in opposite stances, if you want to line up the jab, you have to step to the inside of the lead foot of your opponent. But this also also lines up the power hand of your opponent. And Francis, who we all know has a very good power hand, he dropped so many guys in the UFC, knocked so many guys out in the UFC with it, and he dropped Tyson with that left hand, which is now his power hand. So Tyson didn't want to risk setting up his jab as well. If he did step to the inside to line up that jab, he can't move as well, he can't use his footwork because he loses an exit of escape. And this adjustment helped Francis to win a lot of the later rounds, which was pretty much the exact opposite of what I expected to happen. I thought Francis would be the one to win the early rounds and Tyson would be the one to win the later rounds. But in fact, it was the exact opposite. Tyson won most of the early rounds and Francis won most of the later rounds. And part of that is because Tyson began to gas out because of all the body shots Francis was landing. In my prediction video, I said Francis has to get to the body, and that was something he had been drilling. In the little training clips we saw, he was constantly practicing right hands to the body, left hooks to the body. Now, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who sits here and talks about a sport that I love. But a lot of what I said in that video that you all called me an idiot for saying and believing, so many comments said, you don't know shit, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know nothing about boxing. And I'm not saying I know a lot, but a lot of what I said came true. The proof is in the pudding. You can go back and watch that video, and a lot of what I said was accurate. And guess what? A lot of you deleted your comments. Just because you deleted something doesn't mean it's gone. But the body shots really did take a lot out of Tyson. It's something not a lot of boxers and fighters in general. It's not something you see a lot in MMA or boxing. Everyone just wants to headhunt for the big knockout, but it's a super underrated aspect of fighting. Because not only are body shots effective and do damage, but they also open up the head. And I think that's what Francis was looking for. I think he was trying to use those body shots, tire Tyson out, and then try and set up for the headshot to knock him out. It never came after that third round because Tyson was being too smart defensively and wasn't taking risks like he was. The body shots weren't the only thing that tired out Tyson, as Francis's ability to manipulate the clinch also did. Tyson isn't used to facing people who are better than him in the clinch. In terms of pure boxing, he is one of the best clinchers. He can work in the clinch super well. He knows how to use his body weight to tire out his opponents. But because of Francis's MMA background, they train in the clinch. He's used to fighting in the clinch. Tyson wasn't able to lean all his body weight on Francis like he's used to doing with all his other opponents. Not only is Francis more skilled overall in the clinch, he had so much control in the clinch at times, but he's also the only guy Tyson has ever fought who is not only as big as him, but is also stronger than him. They both were around the same weight. Tyson's only like 2 inches taller. I know it says 6'9" and 6'4". Look at them standing next to each other. I think Tyson is closer to 6'6", and then Francis is much stronger than not much stronger, but he's stronger than Tyson overall, I would say. Now, Francis's inexperience in the clinch did show, as many times he was going for underhooks, which in boxing aren't nearly as effective as MMA. In MMA, underhooks are used to go for takedowns or separate. It's how you control someone in the clinch is with underhooks, and it's how you transition to different positions. You can transition to someone's back with the underhook. You can transition into a takedown with underhooks. But in boxing, because there's no wrestling or grappling, underhooks aren't as effective, and actually overhooks are more effective because it allows you to put more of your weight on your opponent that they have to carry up, and it tires them out. But on the other hand, Francis did use the underhooks a couple times and the body locks a couple times to separate, and he just used his overall control in the clinch to outland Tyson in the clinch. He landed many good punches, a few good uppercuts. He was always looking for that uppercut. A few of them missed that, if they landed, might have put Tyson out cold. In my prediction video, I said once again, Francis's 2 best punches are the left hook, which he dropped Tyson with, and the right uppercut, which he had a lot of success with in the clinch, and he was looking for it at range, but he missed it the few times he did throw it. Now, Tyson definitely did control the pace more because of his overall boxing IQ advantage. But one of the things that really impressed me with Francis in this fight was his footwork. He was winning the outside foot position battle against a guy who has masterful footwork. He would constantly pivot off at angles while in the clinch, and it's something Tyson's never really had to deal with because the guys he's fought like Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora, Dillian White just don't have the ability to switch off at angles like Francis does, which really surprised me. But the thing that impressed me the most about Francis was his defense and his ability to judge and gauge range. So many times he would slip just out of the range of punches, which shows an insane level of understanding range. He would also slip punches. He was very fast at slipping punches and reacting. He slipped many of the counter left hooks Tyson would throw. He slipped a lot of the big right hands, and then with the lead hand battle, he was parrying. Even when they were in the same stance, he was still parrying a lot of Tyson's jabs, but then when they switched into opposite stances, Francis was parrying a lot of Tyson's jabs really well, and he was also blocking a lot of Tyson's punches. He did a really good job keeping his backhand up. Now some of the punches were getting through, but he blocked many good left hooks because his right hand was always up, which isn't something you see out of newer boxers. I know Francis has trained boxing for MMA, but he's still a relatively inexperienced boxer. At least I thought so. So for a guy to keep his hands up, he didn't drop his hands too much on the retraction of his punches. That also really impressed me. And he overall just looked like an elite heavyweight boxer, and he also looked really fast. I'm kind of just out of words because I was not expecting this from Francis at all. I thought to beat Tyson, he had to knock him out, and he went out there and outboxed Tyson at times. Now, Tyson was probably getting the better of the pure boxing exchanges, as he should, and Tyson was definitely better defensively overall and keeping his eyes on his opponents. Francis did look away and close his eyes at times, but again, I'm just nitpicking here. Francis looked like an elite boxer out there, and now we have to talk with him as one of the best heavyweight boxers on the planet. I wonder if he'll be ranked. He might be ranked by ESPN. I'm gonna go check that actually. Okay, he's not ranked, but let's see how he does against the top 10 heavyweight boxers. I think he beats Otto Wallin. I think he might beat Martin. He beats Joseph Parker. I think he could beat Jared Anderson. I think he beats Zhang. Anthony Joshua is tough. I'd still favor Anthony Joshua for sure. I think this is the fight I really want to see, him versus Deontay Wilder. I would still definitely go with Deontay Wilder, but I would not be surprised. I think Usyk is his toughest fight. I think Usyk beats him pretty handily, but the size could be an issue. And then in a rematch with Tyson Fury, I would favor Fury, but again, Francis showed that he could hang with Fury and possibly even beat him in a rematch. And maybe we see Francis go and box again. I'd love to see him versus Dillian White. I think that would be a great fight, very close fight. I think Francis could actually beat Dillian White, which I never thought before this fight. But I guess for now, he's probably going to go back to the PFL, make his PFL debut. And then as for Tyson, does the Usyk fight still happen? He said he'll see us next year. So does that mean the Usyk fight's off? Because it was looking for December 23rd. All I'm going to say is you can go back and watch my early prediction and preview on the Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk fight. I made that video like a month ago. I picked Usyk to win that fight, and now I'm even more confident in that pick. Fury struggling with Francis when he turns southpaw. Francis isn't even a natural southpaw. Imagine what happens with Usyk, who is a natural southpaw and is a lot quicker than Francis. The footwork is better. When Usyk works into range, I said that was an if in that video, but now I think it's a when. He can land to the body and take away the cardio of Tyson. All I'm going to say is I really like Usyk's chances in that fight a lot. And who knows, maybe that fight doesn't even happen anymore. I'm kind of leaning towards it not happening, maybe even ever, which is disappointing. But I know Tyson said they're going to put on the Undisputed and make it the biggest fight ever. It's probably not the biggest fight ever, but I really hope that fight happens. But that is the end of my breakdown on this fight. Francis did amazing. I don't know if he could have performed any better. I have a scoring video coming out soon, so subscribe and turn on post notifications for that. I'm going to break down round by round and determine who really should have won this fight. Like the video if you did enjoy. Comment your opinions on this fight down below. Subscribe if you are new. Follow my brand on Instagram. Follow myself on Twitter and Instagram. Linked in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Stuck in a bad dream, Hollywood rich girl stuck in my backseat, and she wanna get at me, but the day's too short, can't let her distract me.